calling the meeting to order at exactly 5:30. But everybody's here who's going to get here tonight, online or in person. That counts. Would you please do the proclamation?
Lunash Page, the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people, we respectfully acknowledge them as the original inhabitants of Southeast Alaska. Bartlett Regional Hospital is located on the homelands of the Akwal. We are grateful to provide services in your ancestral homeland and to be part of this community.
Roll call, please. Yeah, this is. Yeah.
Chris Letterman.
Here.
Brent Feeney.
Here.
Max Mertz. Lisa Peterson. Al Banger.
Present.
Kitty Solomon Gross.
Also excused.
Shelley Deering.
Here.
John Raster.
Here.
Ed Johnston.
Here.
Dr. Mather. As well. Debbie Cotton.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda, barring no proposed changes to it.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Any objections? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Do we have anyone, don't see anyone in the room, but do we have anyone from the public who wishes to speak? If there's anyone on there that. Seeing here no one. I would now entertain motion to approve the consent agenda.
I would approve the consent agenda.
Second, yeah. Okay. Oh, business, Ms. McGowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. I've got laryngitis going on, so I sound a bit different. So the hospital capacity update, we are seeing a decrease in census all through the hospital, just with expected with the cruise season. CCU had 83 patient days, med-surg 454, MHU 179. They have a current census of 4 and no current packets to review. OB 42, newborn nursery at 29, and the ED saw a little over 1,000 patients in September. We currently have 3 patients waiting for subacute rehab placement. And if there's no questions, I'm also going to be giving a report for home care and hospice when you're ready.
Are there any questions for, with regard to the hospital capacity update? And no one with COVID, either in or employees? Awesome. But I saw. Being, hearing no questions, home health and hospice.
Madam Chair, so home health, they had 11 admissions with 2 recertifications for the month of September, with 3 admissions pending, 20 patients currently on service. Average length of stay for home health is 42 days. Hospice had 5 admissions for the month of September. 8 patients are currently receiving service. The hospice average daily census for September was 9, with the average length of stay of 53 days. We, the Light of the Life holiday events taking place on December 6th to raise awareness and to give respect to those who are fighting and or have passed. So that'll be happening. We have had some leadership changes in home health and hospice with the unexpected departure of the director of the program. Heather Richter was the previous director. We kept on in a remote capacity. She was able to come down and help fulfill some of the needs in the meantime. Since then, we have been able to successfully place an interim director for the program, an interim clinical director for the program. So they will be fully staffed for the first time in a while. And both of those interim folks are looking to make Southeast Alaska their home, and we're hoping it'll be Juneau. So I'll give an update hopefully when that occurs. They will both start in November.
Thank you. As an aside, I would encourage those of you who can to attend the Light Up a Life event. And I'm sure you'll speak to it in your report as well, but it's a great event. Okay. Thanks for letting me do that aside. Wildflower Fair.
Thank you. So for September, our average daily census was at 54.33 with the occupancy rate of 86. A little bit, very little movement from August. We currently have 55 in-house today with an expected admission tomorrow. Questions?
Any questions? It's McCormick, you're up.
Okay, our donor appreciation pig roast raised approximately $4,800. We have had a 14% increase in our payroll Give from the Heart contributions this last quarter, so that's been really positive. I think part of it is our outreach. We've been trying to really connect with some of the employees and give little gifts to those that do give and that kind of thing. We have a holiday paint and sip on November 7th at the Huddle. We did one of these successfully for the staff. It was a wellness event. This one will be a fundraiser, so we're hoping that people will come and attend and start. So that'll be, it's approximately $60 per person, but all of that goes to the foundation. The silent auction that we will be starting, it's called the Foundation Jingle and Bid, will also begin that same night. So people will start to see those online auction items that night, and we'll be adding through it through the month of November. And I believe the closure date was December 5th for the auction. So if you haven't already gotten your Christmas gifts, there'll be lots of local little things, but there's also Celeste Airlines tickets in there. So we've got kind of a nice little mix, which if you see my office, Hurricane Melissa has gone through it. And we've been kind of trying to get all that organized. So so there'll be more information coming soon for that for both staff and board members. The foundation will be helping again with the Hospital Light Up a Life event. We did help in some capacity last year. It sounds like we may be taking a little bit larger role this year as they will be onboarding a new director. But we are moving it to the Mendenhall Mall this year. We've already secured a spot for that. It will be from 3 to 5 p.m. on December 6th. And we chose that earlier time because there's also a holiday market going on around that same time. There'll be pictures. The mall will have a lot of people kind of stirring through it. That will be a festival night. We'll have they will be having a silent auction. I can't do 3 silent auctions in a row, so I'm letting them kind of take the lead on that. The foundation is also planning our holiday party annual reception. Santa, we have gotten confirmation that Santa will be in the house again, so that's great. And we'll have photos, we'll have music, all of those fun things, and that will be December 11th. As a side note, we have a board meeting and strategic planning session on November 4th. That's coming up next week. We have a new coffee vendor, Spearfish Coffee, which grand opening was today. And I got some really great response from that. I asked her at the end of the day how she thought the first day went. She thought it was wonderful. She felt very welcome at Bartlett, and she was very excited to be in a new space and meeting a lot of new people. She also had several comments that we never fill out the employee engagement thing, but we saw there was a coupon on the back. So people are turning those in. So that's good job on that. So very excited to have Spearfish Coffee in the house. Please, if you are in the area, or even if you're not and you come to the hospital, please make sure you support them. I think this is an important.
What are the hours?
She will be there for morning shift change, 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. She may be open to doing later, but right now we just wanted to get her in there and get her started. So that's where we're at with the coffee shop. Very excited to have her here. So we want to make sure that we support them. Last but not least, we have some new local things in the gift shop. We're trying to bring a lot of local in. So we contacted Deb with Martha's Flowers. She's got the little minis in there.
little hardy things that, you know, they're not very much, just little bud vases, but if you want to support local, and then Fedge Company coming in next month as well. Tired of seeing Seattle chocolates in there. So gotta get some local people. And then listed below are the foundation investments for the quarter and all the way through October 20th. Questions? What's happening?
My recollection is that there is limited seating for the sip and.
The paint and sip, yes.
Sip.
Yes, and it does fill up pretty quickly because I'm the instructor too, so there's only so many people I can instruct. I will have 2 people helping me at the event as well, but if you want to come and support Bartlett Regional Hospital Foundation, you're welcome.
Where did you say that was?
It's going to be at the Huddle. So it's where we had it last time too. It's over at the Mendenhall Mall. It's a very nice space if you haven't been there before. Really appreciate them taking that on.
I'm glad about the coffee paper. I'll let everybody at Johnson City Center know about it.
Good. Yeah, and anyone down the street too. I mean,
Yeah, we're
got
down
Valley
the hill.
Medical, and I see people walking, you know, well, it's nice. I see people walking up here, so they easily just walk in and grab a cup of coffee with their friends.
Thank you. New business. Infusion therapy. A3.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Gutierrez. I'm the nurse manager in infusion therapy. And I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to come and present one of our degrees. So this recently started in July. This is doing discharge phone calls. So previous to this, we would treat a patient and send them on their way and hope all was good. But of course, in infusion therapy, we give a lot of high-risk medications, chemotherapy, other IV infusions that can have a lot of side effects. Their treatment regimens can be fairly complex. They take a lot of supportive medications before and after. It's not uncommon our patients go to the emergency room after hours and on the weekends for side effects and for follow-up. And so I wanted to start a process where we could call the patients 1 to 3 or 4 days after their treatment to follow up to see how they're doing and see if there's something we can intervene to hopefully prevent an emergency room visit or at least make sure they're more successful with their treatment at home. Anita, will you scroll on to did you include all 3 of my slides? So this is kind of our algorithm of who we call. So we don't call every one of our patients, but we'll call patients who have just started a new treatment. That could include a patient we currently see, but they've started new medication. They might change medications. If they've had frequent or unmanaged side effects at home, if they had a reaction while they were with us during the infusion, patients that struggle with their follow-ups if they always forget their education or they don't have support, and we get to know the patients really well and know who might need a follow-up call to be like, hey, did you remember to take that second medication at home? And then of course, any patient that a nurse deems necessary. The other day, a nurse said, this patient had kind of an unpleasant experience with something. Can you make sure you call and follow up with them? So that was great that we had that open communication. And so the next day, we review the list of who we saw and then decide who to call. And this next is kind of a script of what we asked when we called patients. You obviously just introduce ourselves, ask them if they have a few minutes to answer some questions. We asked them about how they were feeling after their infusion, if they have any new side effects, if they have any questions, especially with our chemotherapy patients. The first time we see them, they're still kind of shell-shocked of everything that's going on and confused and not sure still what's happening. And so they often still have questions about their medications or what happens next in my treatment cycle or what am I supposed to be doing? And then one of my favorite questions is asking them if there's anything we can do to improve their service. If it's they like certain food or they prefer a certain nurse or a certain time of the day. My favorite part of my job is making sure our patients have a great experience. And the best compliment is when a patient says, wow, this is like my spa day when they come. They're not having fun with what is happening, but they enjoy coming. And so making their experience as good as possible, as positive as possible is very important. So being able to ask that question to see if there's something we can do to improve. So that's really important to me. And of course, if there's something that we can't help as nurses on the phone, we will follow up with their provider, advise them to call their provider, or I call the provider as well if there was concern that I knew I couldn't help them with. One of my favorite, when I started this, probably like the third or fourth patient I called, I had treated her on Friday and she started a really big chemo regimen. And so then on Monday I called her and I was like, how did everything go? How was everything? And she's like, well, I ended up in the emergency room like a few hours later, which like it's a gut punch to me. I'm like, oh no, what happened? And she was having some side effects. And I said, hey, have you called your oncologist? No, I didn't do that. Okay. And then I looked into her emergency room record and they didn't mention talking to the oncologist at all, or they didn't send the records to the oncologist. So of course I called the oncologist and I was like, were you aware that the patient showed up in the emergency room? She had a hard weekend. No. And so we were able to take that information and we had a great multidisciplinary conversation with our pharmacist and the nurse and the oncologist to have a treatment plan to help the patient for the next time to prevent these from happening. It was great. And then the next cycle she did fine. She didn't have a repeat of some of the same side effects. And that was great. Had I not called her, hopefully eventually that word would have gotten back, but it didn't seem like that was naturally going to happen with the process. Anita, will you go back to the first page? So that's basically the process of what we're doing. And I have some stats here of everybody I call. It's average about 10 patients would qualify for a phone call. I get a lot of no answers. I'll call them a couple times, but I don't harass them after that. And then I record if they've had side effects, if they needed some intervention, and not just might giving them a suggestion of something to do that might be a medical intervention, providing education, and if they had any service recommendation. And these stats aren't things that we hope to improve or to decrease. Like it's really, do you have more questions, or we know a lot of people are going to have side effects, but just kind of understanding what they're going through and giving them some advice after the fact. So my goal is to be able to get a hold of people within 3 business days after their appointment and be able to hit 90% of the patients that would qualify for these phone calls. Most of it's going pretty smoothly. Something that we would eventually like to add is to have a specific documentation in our medical record system where we could just check boxes what they've told us. Right now, I'm just making a note. A nurse is not they called the patient and they're fine, or we had to follow up with something. So that's something that might get added into the end. And of course, we're always reviewing and looking at, are we asking the right questions, and are we screening or calling the right patients? And do we need to add more or less for our phone calls? So that's pretty much it. Any questions or suggestions about this A3?
I have a quick question. When this is just for my information, what is the range of amount of time that our patients spend in infusion therapy? I'm sure that some of it.
It really can vary. Some appointments might be 15 minutes and some might be 9 hours. It really just depends on what we're doing for them, what we're treating them for. And it's not just oncology patients we treat, not just chemotherapy, but a lot of autoimmune disorders. People get infusions for that, iron infusions, blood transfusions. So it runs the gamut. We see all sorts of treatments.
I've been a patient for 5 or 6 years. I'm not coming.
If you wouldn't mind, what's the staffing generally of your department?
Yeah, we always have 2 nurses on staff, and then our administrative assistant doing scheduling and behind the scenes. So usually there's 3 or 4 of us in the department.
And you have how many different bays, servicing at and 6 patients or?
We have 5 treatment areas. We have 1 bed and then 4 chairs. So we can have 5 at a time.
And what's at some point I heard that there was a wait list. It was hard to,
There definitely can be. With only 5 spaces, there's not a lot. There's not extra room. The other day we had like 3 or 4 people waiting, so we had people coming late and running behind, and so it can be a couple weeks to get in for appointments.
so just away, how many more spaces would you need to accommodate on average?
I mean, I think opening 2 or 3 more spaces would be very helpful. It's pretty tight. Like the chair doesn't go cold before the next person's, like people are waiting and clean it up and put the next person in there. So it doesn't give much leeway to turn a chair over, turn a space over. Mhm.
My next question is to Joe. In terms of facility planning, is that possible if there's a need?
So skip to the end when I talk about the facility master plan. One of the things they identified was that infusion therapy is at capacity at this point. And they're suggesting 2 to 3 more chairs. That's one of the immediate areas we'll need to address when we start presenting that.
At the time?
You're not open on the weekends, is that correct? So could that need be met having weekend hours?
It's possible. It's difficult because then we don't have access to providers, and we're accessing providers frequently throughout the days. So that could be very tricky. A couple years ago, we expanded our hours, adding just 1 more hour, but that helped to a little bit more throughout the day.
That's how I know they are.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay.
Yeah, so for staff report, it was a relatively quick meeting. The minutes should be in the packet there. I guess from the different various committees, there's really not a whole lot to report. The one piece that we did talk about that I think will probably come here for approval in the next month, like it's we made a little bit of a change of right now we have provisional appointments for people that are new providers, which is 1 year. We talked about extending that out to just a typical appointment duration, which is usually 2 years. So provisional class, which would just be less administrative burden for the hospital as well as for the board having to review the files. But went through med exec and was approved, and there's no objections in med staff. So I think that will probably come here soon. But that was really the main topic.
Questions for Dr. Mann? And we'll hear more about things.
Yeah, exactly.
Questions for Dr. Mather? Committee updates. Shelley. You are muted.
That's what I figured. Okay, thank you. So the quality minutes reflect what was discussed at the meeting. I think just a couple key things is that we will be adding Leapfrog to what we follow, and that will be we will review that at each of our quality meetings. There was dashboards were presented. There was nothing outstanding or different in those. And I'm just looking through real quick. There was 22 grievances for the quarter, and all of those had been followed up on and managed. We did get the QAPI plan for Wildflower Court from Miss Kelsch, which was great. And there was a breach report, which was phishing email from CBJ. So just a good reminder to everybody to, when you're looking at your emails, is following the criteria that you've received in the past to prevent falling for those things. And that's all. Thank you.
Any questions for Shelley? Steering. Is everyone familiar with what Leapfrog is? For those of you who might not have attended the meeting?
Just from in the note that it's a syncing program.
Just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that needed to be defined. Okay. Now,
Yeah, so the planning committee meeting, it came late, so I chaired that. There were 4 brief things we went through. The ED update is something that's of interest to us all. I noted when I was looking back at in my notes, the 65% drawings were due October 17th, which is now in the past, so I'm assuming that's done. We talked a little bit about the call light update. Just a reminder, that's the call lights are called the nurse to the bedside. And there's some notes in there about that. There were miscellaneous project updates. We went through those pretty quickly. And then probably the most interesting thing is progress on the master facility plan update.
which I believe we're gonna.
It's my pleasure.
Any questions about one committee? Yeah. All right. Shelley, are you giving the finance committee as well?
I did not know I was, and I'm trying to look through it real quick there. I think again, the finance team is continuing to work on finalizing year end, and then also still continuing to work on putting into place where we will, Wildflower Court and Hospice and Home Healthcare will get admin fees accredited to them, which currently they don't. Can you scroll down, Anita, please? Let me see. Had a increase in physician revenue, which was split equally between orthopedic and general surgery. So orthopedics is still a very positive bottom line for us and a great addition. And a new controller has been hired and will be starting at the end of the month. So that was great news. And I'm going to say I can't remember what their name was.
Andrew.
Yep. Andrew. Okay. Yeah. And I would call, and that's all I have.
Questions or comments about the finance committee report?
We took right to that real quick, didn't
We
we?
did.
Okay, I'm gonna start with, we had the state of Alaska show up for a survey last week, so we had nursing complaints. So the complaint driven survey, they came and they were here for most of last week. We did an exit interview on Thursday afternoon. There's a couple of minimal findings, but nothing that would lead to a citation at this point. We are expecting the final report in 10 days from when they exited. There's a couple small things, hand hygiene, Putting the bed rails, they put the
Bed rails down on a,
bed rails down. So whatever the complaint was, it didn't lead to a citation based on the complaint. So overall, it went very well. So they were a very friendly group, came and did a good inspection. So overall, I think it was great. So that's the first thing on the report. The second thing is, you'll see in my letter, I talked about how we're trying to engage the staff more. And with that, one of the things that we were able to do today was we awarded our very first Valor Award. So about a week and a half ago, we had one of our nurses, one of our doctors that actually was attending a football game. One of the student athletes went down. He was arrhythmia. And so they went down and started performing CPR on this student. So the person's heart stopped for roughly 10 minutes and they performed compressions for that time. And so through that, the nurse and the doctor were checking pulses. And then when EMS finally showed up, they were able to shock the patient, got his heart started, and he's actually recovered. He's neurologically intact at this point. What we did this morning was we were able to celebrate them. So they were pulled out of the stands. They were spectators at the event, but they came down and they're used to working at a hospital where you have all this equipment and all the supplies and all the stuff you need to perform your job. They did this on the football field when they were not expected to. So we're just trying to illustrate, we have great people here that do great things. And so we're able to award them and celebrate them in a small ceremony today. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm kind of keeping the details vague because the family's kind of trying to keep it under wraps. And then the two individuals weren't exactly keen to be put into the limelight celebrated, but we did that anyways. So that went well. The other thing is with the end of cruise season, we have seen a decrease in patient census kind of across the board. It's been as expected. With that, we're just trying to reflect back. We did have a good cruise season. We saw a high census throughout the summer. And lab was super busy. Radiology was super busy, but as we slow down, we need to, we look at expenses for the season. And also take the time to celebrate staff. The facility master plan is moving along well. We do have, they've had to schedule a few extra meetings just to talk through a few of the items that we've been given some preliminary stuff that we know we're to be working on. So the two big ones that kind of stood out to the contractors was infusion therapy is at capacity. We need to do something relatively quickly for that. As we discussed with Jennifer, 2 to 3 days, what that looks like. There'll be suggestions and recommendations in the report with what that will cost. And so the second item is our surgical suites. They look at the capacity of the 2 we run. Their suggestion is that we need to have the third kind of spun up as well. And I think that's something we've known, something we've been working at. So these are things that we didn't know were coming. It's just they're illustrating them and then some of the metrics behind it. They will be completing and finalizing a report about mid-January. And so with that Anita sent out some emails today. We're going to try to schedule a strategic session the day of it. And so our plan is to bring in the contractor. They'll go over the plan with the board, go over all the suggestions they're going to make. We're going to bring in a speaker to kind of talk about what the strategic plan is, how you do it. We take that information and implement it into our strategic plan through a strategy session with the board. And so that's what our next steps are with this. Is there any questions with that? There's going to be a lot of information coming to you guys. So we'll try, as we start getting some of these slide decks, I'll start showing out. It is quite a bit. I think the last set of slide decks was 60 or 70 slides. So it's a bit, and that's only the piece. That doesn't even go over like the facility assessment, the condition of it. So, be prepared. So there's a lot there. And so it'd be good to work on. Some of it you guys already know, some of it we've discussed. There's not going to be a lot of surprises. Probably no surprises. Some of the out-migration numbers were kind of shocking in some of the areas. So I think that's something that we'll have to spend some time on. Moving on, Glacier Pediatrics is going apace. And so we're doing a lot of work with that. The valuation, we have all that information in. Once we finalize that, we'll have the contract in place. We are on target to open that the first part of January with her closing her practice end of December. I did point out in my letter that Dr. Hannah Parker will be joining that practice on January 12th. So that's exciting news. We're looking at splitting her time between that practice and Bartlett Family Medicine, so we will increase access to pediatrics throughout the community. Some of that might be determined by space. Do we have additional space to put the provider in one versus the other? And then from the patient perspective, let's kind of move those days around as we move forward. Speaking of family medicine, we continue to have a few bumps, things we keep tweaking as we roll along, but overall it's been a success. I think the transition's been relatively smooth. We're trying to get staffed up. There were some shortages of nurses and MAs in there, so we had to hire some people. And we found out earlier this week that Dr. Emily Boss has been released from her non-compete, and she will be starting with us hopefully next week. So she is the doctor that's coming from Surge that we hired last summer. And so she did her 3 months. Her last day at Surge was last week. She's going to take a week off and then start with us.
Can you remind me, what's her specialty?
She's family practice. Moving down, the other thing I'd just like to make the board aware of is Chad and the education team have been doing a lot of work about leadership development. And so earlier, or last week, I guess, our first leadership academy for 13 of our upcoming leaders. And so what we're trying to do is, we know we're going to have transition. We need to start grooming this next generation of leaders. So we're trying to bring these people into the roles with the knowledge they need to be successful. Oftentimes people are put in their leadership positions because they're really good at their jobs. That doesn't always transition people. So we're trying to make sure we're developing them early, bringing the tools, the leadership tools. We also bring moving some of these people into the next cohort of a Duke leadership class to give them the tools necessary to be successful. And so we're trying to be more thoughtful and diligent about how we do it. So I'd like to thank Chad and the education team. That is the end of my report. Are there any questions?
I have a question for you, Lord Chad. What does that, what does that leadership program look like? Not the Duke one, I'm familiar with that, but the new Bartlett's leadership program.
That's a great question.
And what's the cohort size?
So it's 13. The goal is, so what we realized is that when we envisioned this idea of leadership training, it kind of broke into 3 specific sections, which is really the tactical component, kind of practical applications of kind of higher level, like, management type skills, and then the more strategic stuff. And so because we went through the Duke leadership training, we were able to see that really fulfilled the higher bucket for us. So we've kind of made the leadership training focused in on the tactical and practical components. We've made it like the prerequisite, so to speak, to kind of move along. So it's everything from understanding the DVM ratings, how to do a position description, get one of those up to date. It's soft skills, it's general management. We have an entire section on that's kind of modeled after the Southwest Airlines, like, the way you treat your employees reflects in the way your customers are treated. So it kind of goes through, again, kind of that nuts and bolts, that really like pushing buttons and how to fill out this and where it goes, which as a new manager, sometimes people just don't know. They don't even know. I always jokingly say when I first got here, I needed 11 by 17 paper. And I ended up coming up to Anita saying, where can I get paper? And we ended up taking some out of the printer up here. I mean, that's how I figured out how to get paper. And so there's those, and then there's that middle bucket again, which are those management skills, the crucial conversations, those types of things, emphasizing how it all aligns to the strategic goals. And that's really one of the biggest components that we're trying to do, is to tie everything from the ground up, like what you do in your individual department is reflected here, and kind of continually bringing that up so everyone understands, I think, a little better their impact at an individual and a manager and supervisor level.
What's the time commitment? How?
It's 2 8-hour days. Yeah, and it's a lot. I mean, we were puffing through it to get through it. So the nice part too is, working with Lauren Beeson. She's taking really copious notes. We're really looking to find out from staff. We've done a pre-survey, we're doing an after survey, We really sat down, we wrote down kind of Kiwa's learning objectives at the beginning, and then made sure that as we went through each section that we were touching on those, answering those questions. So ultimately, this is going to be a malleable process. There's a couple things that came to light really poignantly, which was there is a lot of conversation around UKG and how much training people need. So that is the idea, is that if there's anything that requires additional training or time, then we can develop additional courses that people could sign up for if they wanted more in a search area.
And how often will this be offered?
Quarterly.
Joe, so do we, when we employ physicians, do we have them sign a non-compete clause? I didn't think so. And then this Emily Boss, a lot of search doctors have come our way. We've had a couple go the other way, right? Joy and I went from private practice because we weren't able to hire. And then the OB people, but it's innumerable how many have come this way. Because Emily was relieved of that provision, I wonder if in the future you have those.
This is conversations with other providers. My understanding is they don't put non-competes their contracts.
Really?
That's what I was told.
That is really good to hear.
Whether that was true or not, I assume it is, but then they released it from hers.
All right.
I think as long as they fulfill the requirement of the contract.
I had heard they had, so that's nice. So they could go to Valley Medical, if they like many people have done. I mean, you've got
Most of us. Not us.
So, okay, that's great news. Thank you.
I just had a question kind of going back to the master facilities plan. Just as far as it sounds like right now it's kind of in the stage of looking at what are the needs, I guess. And I don't know what the right answer is, quite honestly, but at what stage is the provider involvement? I mean, obviously, it sounds like kind of infusion and surgery are kind of the two big areas that you're looking at, needing to upgrade and update. When is the right time to involve surgeons and the people that will actually be, utilizing those facilities?
Well, I think, the first step's obviously got to be the board, and they have to have a line with our strategic plans, but I see the positions as being the next component. One of the things you'll see when we roll this out, it does pull what we have for a physician. They call them KPUs, but they break it down to you, unfortunately. I'm not trying to be. And so it basically goes through every specialty, primary care, what we have for a physician stock in town, what we need. And so it goes through hey, you're going to need 0.4 of an ENT, or they break it down to pieces. And then they're going to go down to well, you can't really recruit at 0.3, so let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the chunks. Your question. So I see as being stage one. I can see med staff as being kind of.
Yeah, just thinking about if you're talking about overhauling the ORs or restructuring the ORs, having a contribution from general surgery and orthopedic surgery and kind of the big stakeholders in that, and Dr. Astor, people who have been.
And that's where the first one needs to be if they come back and it's going to be, you need to overhaul your surgical suite, and it's $50 million. Obviously, that's not going to be year one project. Or $50 million.
So if I may interject, so they interviewed me and a couple of physicians, and Luke, I think, is wondering, are they going to interview more physicians? Okay, for the initial go through, and then if other major issues come up, we can interview.
This is more of the Dr. Astor's favorite, the 10,000 foot view of what is needed, and not really the nitty gritty of how do you accomplish that? Is that?
So project selection and viability.
The detail will come back at this
background to figure out how you actually implement that, or where
the timing and the strategy. There'll be all kinds of involvement. Don't worry.
It doesn't apply to me.
I guess the one thing I didn't talk about on here, because it just came out yesterday, was we got the state's tentative rural health transformation application, what they're going to submit to the federal government. And so this goes back to the money that was coming out of the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so they came up with their initiatives in alignment with the feds. We've actually sent a letter And so what they put together actually aligns with a lot of the things that we had submitted to them. And so there's a lot of stuff on maternal health. There's a housing. They're trying to take care of housing. They're trying to take care of childcare. Some of the big issues we talk about all the time, as well as like IT infrastructure, AI, some of those more nuanced things that will be. But we're hoping that that'll be submitted here in the next couple of days. I'll try to send some of those high-level bullets out to you guys, because when we get to that strategic planning session, ideally the federal government's back open and they've approved states' plans at that point. We can start actioning some of that. But that'll have to be on everyone's agenda as well.
Any other questions or comments for Joe? Good. Right along. I'm not sure if everyone saw, but we have a new liaison starting. She's unable to attend. She's on an airplane, but Alicia Hughes Scandies will be our new liaison going for 2026. She's just not in attendance, so hopefully next meeting she'll be able to attend, and we should all. She's a long-time assembly member, so we should be all familiar with her, but welcome her when she comes next time. This has been a very busy month for me, but in many ways, and the discussions that Joe and I have had, he's already reported on, so you don't have much to say in my report today, if anything. So now,
Can I still go back to one item?
yes,
We did co-host the chamber event, and I think I made most of the board members aware of that. I think Hal and his wife were able to attend, host SLT. I'd like to thank Kim. She did replace me and took care of the speech, and what I've heard, it was a resounding success.
I would echo that. It was, she did an excellent job. And we have to give Erin some credit as well, because Erin helped craft the speech that she gave, but and her, it could have been a dry speech, but thank you, Kim. Your delivery was on point and provided humor, and so it was great job. I have to say, great job. Well received by the audience.
I'd also like to thank Aaron did, and Chad were part of the group that actually put the whole thing away. Bartlett was very well represented at this event, so thank the whole team.
Cal?
Oh, I just want to note, as I was sitting there listening to Search's speech, they kindly offered to bring services to Juneau, like urology, and other services that we might all want, and I just thought that was quite notable.
Since we have the best urologist that we've ever had in the 30 years I've lived here.
For example.
He really is the best we've ever had.
No, I'm glad you brought it up, because you and I talked about it, and then I forgot it, so in my report. But it was a great event, and fun to see what they did with the theme, all the way through. I don't know if you weren't there, they started out with a triage tent in front. You had to, when you entered the event, there was a triage tent set up and all kinds of medical equipment staged around the room.
Yeah, that was really pretty.
They did a great job. Okay. Before we move on to the calendar, any other questions or comments? And you'll have time. I'll probably ask that question like 5 times more tonight. Calendar.
I'm sure. You see, we have a governance committee meeting scheduled for next week. And what we're going to do is go through the board self-evaluation and CEO evaluation. Not every board member's turned those in even yet. So We're gonna have to move that back in time. We're not gonna have time to get that summarized. And I think, Chad, you were thinking something the week of the 10th would be doable. Have you thought any more about that since we spoke?
I think anytime that week, later in the week, would be sufficient.
But anyway, we need to move that. We need to move that back.
Okay. What is your calendar?
I'm going to Hawaii on November the 7th and I don't plan to look at anything until I.
When are you planning to come back?
On the 16th.
On the 15th?
16th.
I think for me,
Okay, personal.
I think for me, any time of the week, I think anytime of the week it's 17th will work.
Well, I leave for Hawaii on the 19th.
Well,
So
I
Monday,
get to go. I mean, I hope the planes are still going.
on the night, I leave. My oldest granddaughter is getting married in Hawaii, so I'm not gonna miss that wedding.
Can we have a meeting the 17th and the 18th?
The 18th is the board.
Okay.
Well, we need to meet. We don't have to make a report at that meeting. We could report at the following meeting. That would be fine. But we need to get some work.
I'm fine for either of those days.
We just pick the 17th or somebody want to?
Fine. With me.
Let's pick the 17th.
Okay.
If I may, I'm gone the week of the quality and compliance. I'm on that committee. Out of town, I'm unreachable at a cabin in Admiralty Island, so.
Yeah, I can't attend that meeting on the 15th either. I'm sorry.
So
Following week.
I'm flying back to Juneau for the week of the 12th through the 20th. So could we do it on the 17th or the 19th?
In compliance?
Yeah.
Yeah, 17 or 19 are okay with me. John Raster here.
Oh, didn't we just look at it on the 17th?
We did put governance on the 17th.
I'm not gonna be able to do both.
Can we do 19th at noon?
Lisa?
Yeah, I just can't do both on the 17th. That's my first day back to work. I don't commit to 2 meetings.
I'll double check. I may have something on the 19th. Let's tentatively schedule for the 19th. And then if that doesn't work for me, I'll reach out to the quality people.
That's good, thank you.
The governance meeting, you wanted to leave it at 3 o'clock?
Was it 3 o'clock? I thought we had it at 9.
You had it at
Oh, sorry.
12. You had it at 12. At 12, okay.
Is that what everybody else wants to do? Yes.
Noon's fine.
Oh, and then, I'll think of it. Because I want to make a pitch for anybody who has either CEO evaluation outstanding or board self-evaluation outstanding, please turn that in tomorrow.
I submitted mine finally.
Nope, I'm not naming.
That's okay. I'm naming my name. I just ignored it.
I've done some problems already. Okay. We're still good with, Max hasn't weighed in, but I'm assuming we're still good with 14th, have we heard? For the finance committee? When is Max back? Tomorrow. I guess we'll leave it there.
For me.
The 14th works for you? Okay. We'll leave it
Works
there.
for me.
Okay. I think that's all the changes we're gonna make.
To recap. Governance meeting at the 17th at noon and quality on the 19th at noon. Correct?
Correct.
Now I would entertain a motion to accept the calendar as revised.
Madam Chair, I'll move to accept the calendar.
I think Lisa beat you to it, so if you want a second. Okay. The meeting is last questions and comments. Opportunity. Have any questions or comments? Okay. I would entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Directors of Bartlett Regional Hospital recess into to discuss several matters, including those which by law, municipal charter, and ordinance are required to be confidential or involve consideration of records that are not subject to public disclosure, specifically the credentialing report, medical staff meeting minutes, patient safety dashboard, legal updates, and Madam Chair, I ask that you be allowed to select which staff information.
Thank you. I would ask that the leadership remain. And before we come back for, we're going to, we'll take a break, about a 10-minute break for folks, and come back at
Surely we could drag this out.
Yeah. That's what got. So let's come back at 6:35 or so. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to see what.
All right.
Madam Chair, I would accept the credentialing report.
And I second that.
Seeing no objections, the credentialing report is accepted. Any other things to talk about before I call an adjournment? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. It is pretty darn close to a new record at 7:04.
Go back cases.